Hey YouTube, Kara Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Diabolos Bruce Cardfight Vanguard deck profile for post-advance of the Intertwined stars. With the third Cardfight Vanguard Overdress set, we were given more support for the Bruce deck, with the initial playstyle being Final Rush, just gaining additional card abilities based on what cards you have on the field, and also at the start of each of your turns after you ride the initial Bruce. It's a really strong play, and it's definitely one of the better decks for the format, for D format. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. Big thanks to my buddy Jim for letting me borrow his Bruce deck for the deck profile. For the ride deck, our go-to starter is Diabolos Innocent Matt. Matt is actually one of the cards that you can call out to the field with your grade 1 option, which is Diabolos Bad Steve. It also has the card ability when you went second, draw a card. With Diabolos Bad Steve, when it's placed on Vanguard, choose a card from your soul, call it to the back, center, rear, and then you soul charge 1. And if you are in Final Rush, it gets plus 5,000 on Rearguard. The grade 2 sets up the card you call out to rear back into your soul, which is Diabolos Anger Richard. When it's placed on Vanguard, put a Rearguard into your soul, draw a card. And then lastly, the Diabolos Violence Bruce is your main go-to boss monster in the deck. With it, we are running an additional 3 copies, just so you have the option for a Persona ride. And with Bruce at the start of your ride phase, you Final Rush. And on Vanguard, when this unit attacks, if you are in Final Rush, you Soul Blast 5 and stand all of your front row Rearguards. This allows you for 5 attacks potentially. And if you Persona Road, those units will get the plus 10,000 power, so you have the additional power options to use against your opponent. With the rest of the grade 3s for the main deck, we are also running 4 of the Upward Acrobat Marjorie. On Rearguard, once per turn, when this unit attacks, if you are in Final Rush, put one of your other Rearguards into your soul, draw a card, and soul charge 1, and then this unit gets plus 10,000 power until end of turn. The fact that it is until end of turn, meaning for the first initial attack with this card, you have the option, when you're in Final Rush, giving it the plus 10,000. If you restand it with Bruce, not only do you have the chance to get an additional trigger, but it'll be 23,000 when it attacks again after restanding it. So very strong for the grade 3 backup in the deck, and it also provides more soul power and also draw power with just having to put one of your Rearguards in the soul, setting up more and more cards so you have that Soul Blast 5 for your Diabolos Violence Bruce. Moving on now to the grade 2s, the newest grade 2 for the deck is Diabolos Returner Derek. If you are in Final Rush, it gets plus 5,000 power on Rearguard. And on Rearguard, once per turn, you counterblast 1, put a Rearguard into your soul, choose one of your opponent's Rearguards for every 4 cards in your soul, and retire them. Then if you are in Final Rush, look at the same number of cards on the top of your deck as the number of your opponent's Rearguards, choose any number of units from among them, call them to rear, and put the rest into your soul. So not only is it great because you can search and set up your soul, but with you being in Final Rush, getting to call those additional Rearguards can just be the setup you may need if you had to use most of your hand to guard an opponent's attack, or just for more of your initial setup of your soul to use with Violence Bruce. This card definitely is a powerhouse in the deck and a definite 4 of. For the last of the grade 2s, we also run 4 of the Diabolos Jetbacker Leonard. On Rearguard, if you are in Final Rush, this unit gets plus 5,000, and when this unit would attack, it battles all of your opponent's units in a column, so it can take out back row units, but also being able to hit those units gives way for its second card ability, which is when this unit attack hits, you can soul charge 1, and if your Vanguard is Diabolos Violence Bruce, choose up to 1 card from your opponent's soul and call it 1 card from your soul, not your opponent's soul. Can you imagine if it was your opponent's soul? Your own soul, and you call it to rear. It can be more setup that you had initially set up with your Diabolos Returner Derek, but having Leonard just as an option to take out your opponent's Rearguards, but also give you more setup for more and more attacks, it's a definite 4 of them. When you Persona ride, it just gets all that stronger. Moving on now to the grade 1s, we are running 4 of the Protobulb Dragon on Rearguard when this unit attacks or boosts. If you were in Final Rush, counterblast 1, put another Rearguard into your soul, choose a card from your soul, and put it into your hand. So if you have a Sentinel that you soul charged or anything that you would rather use for guard material instead of calling it out to the rear, this is where Protobulb Dragon comes in handy. Being able to just have those defensive cards is what this card's main playstyle is for. Even if it attacks, if you have to, you can still resolve this card. So whether you're attacking or boosting, you can resolve the setup of all the different cards you set up in your soul to choose what you want in your hand, preferred to over what you already have. And I also run 2 of the Acrobat Presenter. This card is more of a setup card, once again, for your soul. When this unit attacks or boosts, if your Vanguard is Diabolos Violence Bruce, Soul Charge 1. If you're in Final Rush, Soul Charge 1. The Soul Charge 2 can then initially set up more cards for what we spoke of before, Protobulb Dragon, or even your Diabolos Jetbacker Leonard, having more cards in the soul to potentially call out with this card. The more and more soul also will work for one of the normal orders we run in just a bit. But for the last of the grade 1s in the deck, we are also running 1 of the Monitoring Gear Dober and 1 of the Diabolos Madonna Mabel. Mabel gives you triple drive, and Monitoring Gear Dober is a plus 10,000 power for one of your other units at the end of the battle boosted if you're in Final Rush. I mixed around some of the numbers. I'm happy with the 2 of for Acrobat Presenter and also for Madonna Mabel and Monitoring Gear Dober. This was also my buddy Jim's suggestion, since this is his deck that I'm borrowing for the profile. With it, you can mix around these numbers between Acrobat and Presenter and these 2 cards. If you wanted to run more of Dober, you can just drop the number of your Acrobat Presenter, or even the same goes for Mabel. If you want to rely on that triple drive, you just need to set her up in the back row column to do so. And then lastly, for the rest of the grade 1s, just 4 of the Recruitful Hate Dragon, just being the perfect guard of choice. Once again, having the option, just like all the Sentinels, if you guard with it and it's the only other card in your hand, being 1 more, you can then not have to discard against your opponent's Vanguard for that attack, if it is your Vanguard you're blocking against, because then you'll have this last one to guard with if your opponent does get an over trigger or just something that you normally wouldn't be able to guard against. And for the orders that we run the deck, the newest order from set 3 is Pandemonium Tactics. You play this card with a counterblast of 1. Then if you are in Final Rush, perform all the following according to the number of cards in your soul. If it's 6 or more, you draw a card. 8 or more, all your front row gets plus 10 till end of turn. If it's 12 or more, choose one of your Vanguards. It gets critical plus 1 until end of turn. This is more of the setup card. So once again, you'll Soul Charge 4 with the counterblast. So you will have your setup ready to go with this card. So with it, after you counterblast, you Soul Charge 4, giving you that initial setup. If you have even more in your soul, the plus 10,000 power and the additional plays to go for from there. I potentially wanted to run 4 of this card. If you were to do so, you can try dropping any of the Mabel, Dober, or Acrobat Presenter as the 4th option in the deck. It is a once per turn with orders, don't forget, but still one that could definitely help not only with your soul charging power, so you can then Soul Blast with Bruce, but the actual setup, giving Bruce a critical, is also immensely scary. And then for the trigger lineup, I wanted to run 8 critical once again, so running 4 of the Diabolos girls. I have Flinty Slasher in the deck. I would run the new critical with the card skill of being able to put into the soul and give another unit plus 2,000 power after it boosted, but if you have it, you can just replace Flinty Slasher for that card. Great for more soul setup also. And then also running 3 draw triggers. The deck definitely does need it just for hand consistency, so you have cards to guard with against your opponent after you twin drive. And the heal trigger being the Diabolos Girls Ariana, one of the more fitting heal triggers for the deck, definitely. And lastly, the over trigger being the Galmaheld for the plus 10,000 power additional critical pressure that this card can provide the earlier you get it in the game. And that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the update. Once again, thanks to my buddy Jim for letting me borrow the deck for the update. It was definitely a big help there for sure. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.